So talk to me about this. The wide receiver market continues to explode. Obviously, Terry McLaurin was the latest to get a deal done. But what is going on and why this may not necessarily be something that slows down anytime soon?
Yeah, and like I said, Stephen Ruiz, great NFL writer, works for The Ringer, was talking about, how there's been so much player mobility, so much movement in the NFL when it comes to wide receivers. And you've seen receivers get so much money. And the reason why this might not slow down is probably just based in the idea of the way that offense is being played, and honestly, the way offense and defense is being played right now. So Ruiz started talking about the ways in which defense, like some offenses in the past were built around stopping one guy. So in the past, you would have your dominant one receiver who would be able to make things go, and maybe you'd have some other receivers, but you could have your one guy. And now we're getting to this place where people are following the likes of Bill Belichick, where he had the defenses where it was like, we're playing man, except for this one dude over here.
We're going to take him out.
Yeah, he's not doing
Two
nothing.
dudes on that guy right there.
Right, whoever that guy is, right? I think he used to call it one double insert number here, right? So whoever's number it was. I think back in whenever, right? They came up on... All right, now I'm stopping down because I can't remember. But they might do like a one double 83, and the dude wearing 83, your day is done. You might as well hit the showers right now.
We're taking you out of the game.
And teams are doing that more, not necessarily just the double in man, but they're focusing on making sure that your number one receiver, your star receiver, is not going to impact them. And what that means now is that the rest of your team has to be able to do something. So it's not just, your offense, your team can't just have one guy. Now you have to have a more well-built wide receiving core, a more robust wide receiving core where it's not just the one guy over here, but you have to have another guy over here and maybe a third guy, and you hope that they all complement each other. It's not just getting a whole bunch of good guys, making sure that they complement each other. So now it's just forcing team building to be more robust. And so while there might be more wide receivers out there, right, as we've seen so many college teams going to the 3 wide receiver, 4 wide receiver sets, and you're getting more talented wide receivers coming up, you still need to have those high-level guys. You still need to have a diversity of talents. And thus, when you have a demand like that, that's also going to then make it so that the value, the price, quite literally, is higher.
I think one of the things I liked about that piece, too, was equating it to basketball, having the idea that you had to have different body types, different kinds of receivers to do different things within the on the offensive side of the football, and being able to stack your wide receiver room with a diverse set of skills from each of these playmakers, because the way that offensive football is being played now, getting guys the football in space, being able to attack defenses, in multi-dimensional ways, you have to have a variety of wide receivers and pass catchers to be able to do different kinds of things to put pressure on defenses. I think that was one of the reasons why we were so excited last year about the wide receiver core for the Cowboys between Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, and Amari Cooper at the time, is that you had 3 different kinds of wide receivers who could do a lot of different things. Amari Cooper was the precision route runner. CeeDee Lamb was the guy that you got the football out in space and let him go to work in space. Michael Gallup was your over-the-top guy that could take the top off of defenses. Those are the kinds of things that could attack defenses in a lot of different ways, and why I think a lot of teams around the league feel like they have to continue to stockpile on wide receivers and pass catchers in order to feel like they can be much more creative offensively, given the skill sets that these receivers are possessing. And a guy like Deebo Samuel, for example, kind of does it all. Catches the football, run the football, get the ball to him in space, and let him go to work. Having multiple guys like that on your offense, especially in your wide receiver room, is important in today's NFL offense.
Absolutely. In fact, this is backed up by maybe I should say this in hushed tones, analytics, right? Like
that dirty little word, analytics.
Right. But the numbers of this also backs this up. I was looking at this from Pro Football Focus, right? And they were doing, this comes with the NFL draft, right? Because we were talking about, when we talk about the NFL draft, we end up talking about positional value and things of that nature. And they did a little bit of study when it came to wins above replacement. It's something war we talk about in baseball, but they had a metric that they developed for football, wins above replacement. And when it came to like the top 10 players in a position, right? What was the average wins above replacement? What do you think is the number 1 position for war in football?
I would say quarterback.
Easy money, right?
Yeah.
2.5, right? And and to go back, like what was it? Tony Dungy or whatever, when they talked about, the positions that were most important is the The man who's throwing the football, then who?
The man who's getting after the quarterback.
Getting after the quarterback, then who? The man who's protecting the quarterback, right? That's the or more traditional way that we're thinking about. Who do you think is position number 2 when it comes to top 10 average in WAR?
I'm gonna go with the defensive end.
Nope, it's actually a wide receiver.
Okay.
It's actually a wide receiver, right? And it's a significant drop down from quarterback. Quarterback average WAR is 2.5, right? 2.5 wins above replacement. After that, wide receiver is 0.7. So maybe 3/4 of a game you're getting when you have a receiver that's above replacement. Then after that, safety, which is interesting. We can talk about that at some point. Cornerback, tight end, interior offensive lineman, offensive tackle, right? So now you're seeing how much there is stressed here on this offensive passing involved, portion of the game. And I think that's really interesting when we talk about these wide receivers, which can bring us back to the Cowboys if we want to talk about this. And I think this is why you get so damn frustrated about the move away from Amari Cooper.
Yeah, because I think based on how the Cowboys utilized him, they did not accentuate, I think, their offense to the maximum that they could have based on their personnel that they had at the time. You can say, Kevin, you can feel that way about, how Kellen Moore runs his team offensively, how the Cowboys may have felt about Amari Cooper and the dog, or the lack thereof in him based on the kind of player and the way that he comported himself, on and off the football field. But what I don't think was utilized enough was the ability to get Amari Cooper the football and put him in positions to succeed, to allow everything else to open up. Because one thing CeeDee Lamb's going to find out this year is that teams are going to be able to game plan for him specifically. How does he handle teams focusing their attention on him when he now is the primary target? One of the things about Amari Cooper is that he could take that pressure off of CeeDee Lamb, off of Michael Gallup, because of how much attention he commanded. The Cowboys, I don't think, utilized him enough to be able to fully realize that potential there offensively. This past year, CeeDee Lamb now will have to be, to me, the actualization of the way that the Cowboys utilize him offensively, based on the way I think true number 1 wide receivers in this league are used, given the ways and the importance that they're placed on with their particular team.
But this is interesting because with what we've talked about and with what we have garnered from Stephen Ruiz's article, I wonder if, like, when we talk about the market, all these people that are getting big money, do we know if that value is going to pan out in the ways that we're doing this, right? Where we have these particular wide receivers at the very top getting all this money. Do we know if that's going to pan out in that exact same way, where that one wide receiver taking up a big chunk of your money is going to matter? And I'm not looking to give the Cowboys an out here, or are you going to have to lean more on the other portion of this, which is like building the basketball team and making sure that you have a full, well-rounded wide receiving core that can do all of these things, so that you can't necessarily isolate it on one? And we can get back to what, the fan texters have talked about, where it's like, take what the defense gives you, because you have all these different wide receivers working in tandem, all having certain values of skills that's going to force the defense to open up.
Yeah, because I think teams now have to have at minimum 2, if not 3, good receivers in their wide receiver room, so that they can actually utilize those players in different ways. Because the days of guys like Davante Adams, for example, when he was in Green Bay, it was him and a bunch of other dudes. Now, that stuff works in the regular season, but when you start playing better and better teams as the competition goes on,
they don't let just bad teams in the playoffs.
Exactly, yeah. And the Packers found that out the hard way when they scored 1 touchdown against the San Francisco 49ers in their playoff loss. And part of the reason was there was no one else but Davante Adams to throw them the football. And Aaron Rodgers, well, I can't throw it to just him. I got to throw it to other dudes, and the other dudes weren't capable to be able to step up to the challenge. So that's a fascinating discussion, because this wide receiver money, it's not slowing down anytime soon. If your man Christian Kirk can get out here and get $18 million per season, and possibly $21 million per, if he hits all of his incentives or whatever, that's how you know it's silly season in the NFL when it comes to wide receiver market. But obviously that's going to be something to watch for as we continue to go on.